From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. I want to go back to a few headlines from late last week. Many of them dropped on Friday. So there's a good chance that if you live a normal life, you had a nice weekend, and maybe you missed some of these stories. I would be jealous of you if you did. But I feel that I should bring them up just in case you hadn't heard about these. Big stuff late last week, and again, especially on Friday. The slush fund, the $1.776 billion crime that the Orange Menace is trying to get away with, was blocked by a judge in the Eastern District of Virginia. Ruled that no funds may be released. Now, as always, every court decision is technically a temporary decision because everyone has the potential to get up to SCOTUS. So we'll see how this develops in appeals. But as we stand right now, those funds are blocked. Nobody's getting a dime. Several lawsuits were filed, so this is in response to one of those. And then in addition to that, the original judge who was handling that bogus case the Orange Menace brought, where he was suing his own IRS, and of course that was a joke right from the beginning. He was both defendant and plaintiff. It was never going to fly in court. That's why they dropped it and tried to put this almost $2 billion scam forward as a so-called settlement. It never was. It was all a ruse from the beginning. And we all knew it. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be even smart to know this. But as I've said before, it's always great when a court confirms what we all know to be true. Because you need that, right? You need the court. You need somebody with some power to do something. Otherwise, everything just goes ahead. We can't count on Congress. At least we haven't been able to up to now. So anyway, this judge that was handling the bogus U.S. government versus the IRS, which would have absolutely been thrown out. Well, now that judge has reopened the case in what legal experts are saying is extremely rare, almost unprecedented, because the judge suspects fraud against the court. Yeah, you think? Well, we'll drop this bogus case and then say we have a settlement where I get $1.776 billion to spend any way I want, namely to give to my friends and allies who helped me commit my crimes and my attempt to overthrow the United States government, to give $1 million a pop to J6ers who fatally injured cops. So the slush fund, as we speak, is no more. It's stopped in its tracks. Hallelujah. That was just one of many, many stories late in the week, and again, some in the Friday trash. The Kennedy Center, another court ruling that the Orange Menace's name must be taken off the building, taken off any signage, taken off the website. Any reference to the Kennedy Center for the Arts must be returned to its original nomenclature. The Orange Menace's name must be physically removed. They've got a 2-week deadline as of the ruling, so about 10 or 11, 12 days now. So you got to love that. And I'm not sure if this was the same decision or a separate one. Check me out on this one. But there was also a ruling that the Orange Menace cannot close the Kennedy Center. That was his plan. As of July 4th, the Kennedy Center was going to be closed for what he said was renovations. Well, of course, as we all know, because again, you don't have to, some things you just know. You have to be able to trust your own eyes and ears. Obviously, he closed the place because it was hemorrhaging money. Because of his takeover of the board, he packed the entire Kennedy Center board with his henchmen, named himself chair, and so dozens of artists already booked or working on bookings all dropped out. They didn't want to have any part of it. Ticket sales plummeted. He pretty much bankrupted the Kennedy Center. So he destroyed the Kennedy Center just like he destroys everything that he touches, including the entire damn nation. Oh, there's a good little unintended Satan pun. Damnation. So in response, what he wrote on his dime store version of Twitter, that he just washes his hands of the whole thing. Well, Congress can just have it back then. What, what the hell does that mean? You're the chair. You've named the entire board for the Kennedy Center. What do you mean wash your hands? Give it back to Congress. What are they supposed to do? It's just another bankruptcy for him. Just walk away. Jesus, what a loser. So the courts, we can't go on like this. We can't go on relying on the only branch of government that seems to be operating right now. I mean, thank God they are, but we can't continue like this. We can't keep counting on them, especially when the Supreme Court is so corrupt, so in the pocket of the regime. So enjoy one good news cycle, yes, but just more proof that we have work to do. We got to end this regime. We can't let it ever happen again. We have to take an axe to the power of the presidency itself. We have to put an end to this ridiculous unitary executive theory. We have to reform the courts. Like I said, they did a good job in these couple of cases. But man, we have to ensure that the courts are free and strong. All of them, and especially the Supreme Court. You know how we feel about here. Knock it up to 13, maybe 16, maybe 18 members of the court. Put them on term limits. Each president gets one nominee per term. Things like that. They're simple reforms. It's nothing complicated. There are plenty of good plans out there. All right, so from the Friday headlines. Social media firms lose in court. Here's another court case. $27 million they're ordered to pay. A Kentucky school district brought this lawsuit. There are over 1,300 other similar cases out there. So I forget the jurisdiction where a couple of months ago the first big loss happened for social media companies. And that's when I needed to learn, and I did learn that, there are thousands of these cases. Because I was kind of mocking it. Oh, well, a couple of $1 million will let me reach in my pocket for my chump change. But yeah, thousands of these cases. And it will be a real hit on the social media companies, and it may force reform. So this is great. In this case, a total of $27 million, some from Meta, Snap, some from, let's see who else, TikTok, others, because they've designed a product that's addictive, especially to kids. And that's exactly who is targeted. Well, we're all targeted, but targeting minors is especially odious. And then once they've got them, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, young people unaliving themselves. So another great story of the courts coming through. Pam Bondi spit in the face of Congress one more time. Instead of receiving a subpoena ordering her to testify, the Republicans just gave her an invitation to come in and have an informal chat regarding the Epstein files. So she comes in to see the Oversight Committee. 0 Republicans, except for the chairman who had to be there, Chairman Pyle. So Democrats on the Oversight Committee questioned her, and she had her lawyer at her side, intervening, interrupting, not allowing her to answer anything, just basically refused to answer any and all questions about the Orange Menace. So she gave one of her little usual Pam Bondi performances, being insulting and obstinate and eye-rolling. She'll have her day, like the rest of them, in court, where she will lose, and spend some time in jail. That's what's going to happen to Pam Bondi. Might take a little while, but it's going to happen. And then to round out the headlines of late in the week, because, as I said, I kind of figured you missed most of this over the weekend. And by Monday, the news media is on to new things. So I just wanted to sort of catch you up and make sure you didn't miss it. The 250th anniversary of the nation, well, there's going to be a big concert. And of course, the Orange Menace has taken over everything. He made this big announcement, named a bunch of artists, and like the Kennedy Center, once the artists got wind of what was going on, oh, really? This is an Orange Menace production? Well, I don't want any part of that. So he announced the lineup on one day. Within 24 hours, half of the artists had dropped out. And then again, pretty much the rest of them. And when they all did that, just like he did with the Kennedy Center, he said, okay, screw all of you. I'll do it myself. So now, instead of a 250th concert with his whole lineup of artists, and they were all lame to begin with, now it's just going to be him. He's now the main attraction, the only attraction. It's literally now just a MAGA rally in Washington, D.C. on the nation's 250th. So I would just advise all of us to just ignore it, let them have their little very lame event, and we can spend our day in our towns and cities, and we can have our parades and our celebrations and our fireworks. I know when I was a kid, the carnival came to town every 4th of July. It was always a good time. So there you go. Just some of the headlines from late last week, and especially in that Friday dump, as they call it. I thought I'd catch you up just in case you needed it. Well, this past Saturday, another boat in international waters blown up, 3 more dead at the hands of the United States military. Weekend before that, there were 2 others, bringing the total now to, I think it's 60 boats and over 200 dead. All of them cold-blooded, stone-cold murders, or in the sanitized language, extrajudicial killings. I was especially disappointed in General Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Testifying before Congress, he said he was satisfied with the justification because of the legal memos. Well, you know how that works, right? Remember the legal memos telling George W. Bush that torture was okie dokie? Yeah. The regime, the Orange Menace, Secretary of War Crimes Pete Hegseth, get themselves all lawyered up. They find somebody to write a memo justifying their murders. Hand it over to the general, goes through the chain of command. All right, drop the bombs. If you need to, double dip, drop another one on the survivors clinging to the hull of their shattered boat. Congress has done nothing about this. The courts have done nothing about this. The international community calling it exactly what it is: murder on the high seas, international crimes. Yeah, people are going to jail. From the highest officials ordering these murders, down through the chain of command, to the military personnel carrying them out. You can't just kill people. This is not a war. We're not at war with people in small boats off the coast of Venezuela. And let's just pretend for a second that they are all running drugs, which I don't believe at all. Why would I believe that? You've shown us 0 evidence. But even if they were, then that's a suspected crime. And you intercept the boat. You arrest the people on board. You guarantee them their due process, and then you charge and convict if you can. That's the way the world works. You don't just murder people in cold blood, even if they're running drugs. That's not how the world works. Everything's behind closed doors. Everything's behind lock and key. Everything's classified. Oh, we can't show you the evidence, but trust us, we have evidence. Oh, you think it's illegal? You think it's unconstitutional? You think it's against both American law and international law? Oh, well, we have a legal memo from one of our lawyers. Fixes all that. So just don't worry your pretty little head. We've got it all figured out. No. Speaking of being arrested, charged, afforded due process, that's what's going to happen with Secretary of War Crimes Pete Hegseth and everybody in the chain of command who had anything to do with this. You're going to be arrested, you're going to be charged, and you're going to be convicted, and you're going to serve time. Or we could just drop a bomb on you. I guess that's how things work now. Should we do that? Oh, we suspect you of criminal behavior. We suspect you of murder. I guess we can just drop a bomb on you. Secretary of War Crimes Pete Hegseth. Should we just drop a bomb on your office in the Pentagon? Because we suspect you of a crime, and that's how things work now. All right. Scott Pelley, former anchor of the CBS Evening News and a longtime correspondent on the program 60 Minutes, made some news this week because there was an audio recording of a meeting inside the halls of CBS News where he laid into the new executive producer of 60 Minutes, a guy by the name of Nick Bilton, hired by the infamous Barry Weiss, who is now the CBS News editor-in-chief, chief regime apologist. Well, God bless the person who recorded this meeting and the person who leaked it, because we got to hear Scott Pelley ripping Nick Bilton a new one. Speaking of Barry Weiss, who appointed Bilton, Pelley said, "She's murdering 60 Minutes. She does not love this place. She was brought in to kill it and is doing exactly that." Told Bilton to his face that he was not qualified for this job, that Barry Weiss was not qualified for hers, which she's not. She has no qualifications for her job, he said. "You have slender qualifications for this job," Pelley told Bilton. "The changes that she's made at the Evening News have been catastrophic, so why should we expect that any of this is going to be any better?" Of course, this meeting was right on the heels of Weiss firing correspondents Cecilia Vega and Sharon Alfonsi. You may remember that Alfonsi is the person who reported on CICOT, the gulag in El Salvador, where hundreds of innocent Venezuelans were sent in the dead of night against the law, including Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That's how we came to know him. Yeah, Weiss personally canceled the airing of that story, but Canadian television already had it in their hands, so it wound up airing, and then later on 60 Minutes. Weiss fired longtime 60 Minutes executive producer Tanya Simon, so that's what got all this rolling. And it's a nightmare over at CBS. The reason I wanted to mention this story is because I just want to give a nice shout out to Scott Pelley. This is what we all need to do. We all need to speak up at our jobs. We need to lay into our bosses and tell them what's what. Now, of course, I know you can't do that without getting fired. And Scott Pelley did get fired. And he's a rich guy. He's a rich, white-haired guy who can afford to get fired. He's got plenty of money. He's got no problems. I understand that. But still, this is his life's work. He loves the institution of CBS News, which goes all the way back, of course, to people like Edward R. Murrow. Loves 60 Minutes. It's been on the air for, 50, 60 years. How long has that been on the air? So just a great example for all of us. We all need to tell our bosses off regularly. And again, I know, you can't afford to be fired. But this is why I always give you the same advice. If you're in a job and your employer is doing bad things to you, to your coworkers, to the world generally, if they're a negative influence on society, if they're polluting the earth, whatever they're doing, if they're supporting fascism, if they're producing poison for society in the way of ultra-processed food or dangerous algorithms, if you're employed by a company that you can't be proud of every day when you walk in, you got to make a plan, man. You got to get out. I know you have to feed your kids. I know you have to go into work tomorrow. Make your plan. Get out. There's nothing worse than being dependent on a job, on a boss that you know is doing more harm than good to the world. Someone you can't respect, someone you know is disrespecting and maltreating yourself and your coworkers. You have to be in the position to be able to tell them off. It's kind of like a married couple where one spouse is financially dependent on the other and then feels they have to take abuse. Don't ever let yourself get into that situation. You have to somehow create the independence that allows you to speak up, to fight back, to leave. So good for Scott Pelley. Let him be our example. Stand up to the boss and have a plan B ready in case they fire you because of it. While I'm passing out compliments, a rare compliment to the news media. A guy by the name of Bill Pulte has been named by the regime as the new acting director of national intelligence, DNI. taking over the spot vacated by Tulsi Gabbard, or at least will be on June 30th. Now, Bill Pulte has exactly zero experience in anything related to national security or intelligence. So, like most of the regime's cabinet, entirely unqualified for this position. As acting director, he can serve, I think, for 200 days without having to get Senate approval. Pulte already has another job in the administration. He's director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and he's going to have both jobs. Yeah, because I guess director of national intelligence is a part-time job. But here's where my compliment comes to the news media. Every source I've seen on this story, they all get exactly right to the point. As director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, he has been the one targeting folks on the Orange regime enemies list because he oversees government-controlled mortgage companies like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And so you'll remember they went after California Senator Adam Schiff. They went after New York Democratic Attorney General Letitia James, former Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, and Fed Governor Lisa Cook. All of these and others harassed, formally charged with mortgage fraud. So basically, Pulte has been a hitman for the Orange Menace, using his position to drum up false charges against perceived enemies of the regime. That's pretty much been his job description up to this point. He's a mega MAGA loyalist, a designated hitman for the Orange Menace, and he's now been given the keys to national intelligence, which includes the CIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, National Security Agency, Army Intelligence, Navy Intelligence, Marine Corps, Air Force. Yeah. So now this Bill Pulte, with zero experience in national security, with zero experience in intelligence, will take his particular set of skills and his job description as defined by the Orange Menace to go after enemies, with a whole new set of tools to do it. And every media news source that I looked at understood that very plainly and reported it clearly right at the top of the story. So good for them. Bad for us, bad for the nation, of course. But at least I can say, well, good for you, news media. You finally got one right. All right. Some very brief thoughts on the Tuesday primary elections. I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not going to give you tally results. You have plenty of resources for that. I just have to say this today. Our election process in this nation is a disaster. Let's start with this ridiculous jungle primary in California. What the hell are they thinking? Just put everybody on the same ballot. They had like 60 names on for governor. Any Yahoo can qualify for the ballot. And then the top 2 vote getters go on to a runoff. This is the dumbest system I've ever heard of. And it absolutely forces voters to think like strategists, which you and I have talked about many times. We have to have a system that doesn't force voters into that corner. Well, I like candidate X, I like candidate Y, but I guess I'm going to have to vote for candidate Z because it looks like he's got a chance according to the polls, and I don't want to throw away my vote. So it's just a holy mess. And it's not just California, it's pretty much everywhere. Iowa is an excellent example. I heard so many reporters say the exact same thing. I even saw voters on video saying, well, I really like the progressive. I think we should be bolder. But I don't know, in Iowa, I guess you have to vote more for the centrist. Because Iowa's kind of a conservative place, and, well, we have to be pragmatic and try to appeal to the center. Yeah, I heard this from voters. I heard this from reporters who talked to voters and were reporting on their conversations with voters. It's all strategy. It's all punditry. This is not the way to do it, you guys. Why do you think the Democratic Party has no vision? Everybody keeps begging the Democratic Party to show us something. What do you actually believe in? What will you do? Will you fight for it? I don't care if it's Texas or Iowa or California or Nebraska. I don't care. Most of us want change. They all say it. Oh, we have to have change. We have to have change. Well, so you're going to vote for the change candidate? Well, I can't do that because they'll lose. I live in kind of a conservative area. I have to think about how the others are going to vote. This is insane, you guys. We can't keep doing this. And what makes this just excruciatingly frustrating is the answer is right in front of us. Ranked choice voting, proportional representation. Now, we've talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. I promised I'd keep this little rant short. Ranked choice voting is very simple. You rank your candidates 1, 2, 3, and 4, so no vote is ever thrown away, just based on who you think would be the best in the position. Now, we've talked about ranked choice voting before. We'll talk about it again. I don't want to get bogged down in details today. If you want to do a quick internet search, get a definition, a quick explanation for ranked choice voting and proportional representation, it's pretty easy to understand. Go do your homework. I'm not going to get into it today, but I'm telling you, we absolutely have to adopt ranked choice voting and proportional representation. It solves enormous problems. Right now, we're forcing voters to become strategists. They're voting strategically, not based on who they want, who they think is best, but who they think can win. So we all have to be pundits now. It's ridiculous. And this intramural fight we're having within the Democratic Party between the progressives and the centrists is going back and forth. The progressives have had some wins. This last Tuesday, not so much. So it looks like it's shaping up to be another election cycle where the Democratic establishment is able to push their milquetoast, centrist, do-nothing candidates into office because MAGA is such a disaster. So we'll have a big old blue wave. The same old do-nothing centrist Democrats will win. Everybody will be so happy because MAGA is defeated. Oh, happy days. And now we just start the cycle again. Well, let's govern like cowards. Let's get nothing done. Let's feel good about ourselves for a couple of years. Voters in no time at all are unhappy again because nothing really gets done to solve their problems. And voters are told, well, we have another election coming up in 2028. Concentrate on that. Think like a pundit. Vote for somebody you think can win. That means going to the center, like it always does. You guys, this is why I even hesitate to talk about electoral politics. Because it's not going to get us anywhere unless we go to ranked choice proportional representation. Then elections might actually mean something. When the will of the people can actually show up in election results and then in governing agendas. But we are on a treadmill right now, and we are going nowhere. So anyway, this and all episodes can be heard at the website, charlespurcell.com, or on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio in Milwaukee. Follow us on Blue Sky and Substack. Peter Donalds wrote and performed the theme song. All right, I love you. I'll see you out there.